Hi, everyone. I am Anasuya Strasner. I manage customer experience for our North America cloud business, and we're so excited to be a part of the Cloud Wars industry battleground. And so today we're talking about financial services. And Oracle has a continued focus on innovation, scalability, security, and we really give our financial services customers a cloud platform that accelerates their digital journey, enables them to be agile and retain security and data protection and compliance, all the while migrating to the cloud if that's the place they find themselves. At the same time, we are hyper focused on ensuring that our financial services customers have the ability to strengthen their financial controls, automate security monitoring, and have confidence in their enterprise-wide analytics. And now I have the extreme pleasure to discuss how Oracle's customer-focused culture has really driven success with our financial services clients. And I'm not doing it alone. Joining me today are Chris Skiffington. He is our Group Vice President of Financial Services. Hi, Chris. And we have Poorav Shah, Head of Enterprise Architecture. And so today we're just going to jump right into it and tee it off with a question that is just the topic of financial services is a really broad term. And so we want to talk to you today about how our solutions really address the wide set of subsegments in financial services. It's a really broad term. And so with that, I'm going to just go ahead and go right to you, Chris. Maybe you could just share a bit how our solutions are addressing all those subsegments within financial services.
As I think of financial services, just to start at the top, right? It's interesting to think about financial services today compared to maybe even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, right? Less than 10% of the money, right? Of the money in the world. Can you guys see the money?
Yeah, I can see that. I like it.
Right? Less than 10% of the money in the world is actually in currency, right? It's actually in currency. The rest of the money in the world moves on its bits and bytes, right? So in today's day and age, and really for the foreseeable future, banks, capital market firms, really could be considered just as much technology companies as they are traditional banks. And as part of that, the industry is really challenging that. But that concept and the fact that technology is such a differentiator in this industry spends so much money, 2x any other industry really as a percent of revenue on technology to enable their business is really at the core of how we're investing in this space. So we look at financial services through three lenses, really. We look at it through banking, insurance, and capital markets. It's very fair, and everybody knows that roughly 50% of the IT spend is really on that banking side of the equation. So that's how we look at it. As far as how we attack the solution development part of financial services and looking at the segments, we really look at it on two axes. We look at it horizontally as far as how the front office, back office applications work, and then vertically as far as what are the specific financial services, banking, insurance, capital markets applications as they use to drive their most critical business processes. So on the vertical side, Oracle's portfolio includes a number of SaaS solutions around lending, around policy administration, around customer experience, around fraud and prevention, and a ton of investment over the past few years around cyber. Right, the investment in cyber collectively as an industry, individually as Oracle, but collectively as an industry, as at a pace that is only increasing at an increasing rate, and hopefully for all of us that are customers of this space, moving faster than the bad actors are moving. Right, so a huge investment in that piece. On the horizontal side, it's really an instrumentation of front office, service, customer experience, et cetera, back office, ERP, EPM, books and records, human capital management, and how we're evolving those solutions to specifically serve the unique needs of the financial services space. Talent, huge issue for everyone, doing unique things there with AI and ML. On the ERP side, I'd like to drill in actually with you for a second on the ERP side. If I were to say 70%, maybe even close to 80% of our customers are looking at some type of investment in finance modernization, right? Looking at how they flip the traditional chart that was corporate finance really forever, which was at the bottom, at the base of the triangle being transaction processing, and the middle being, okay, reporting and making sure we're compliant over that transaction processing. And then at the top, the smallest piece of the corporate finance effort being, providing insight and advice and counsel to the lines of business on how they can attack new markets or drive new products or build new products, and really reshaping, modernizing corporate finance so they can flip that, right? And make the most of the time, the most of the finance resources that a bank or a capital markets firm has, invest in that insight piece, right? And really automate and use AI and ML to automate and take all of the time and energy and resources away from that traditional transaction processing and reporting stuff. I would say 70% of our customers across the segment, and I can really only speak to North America, and I really can't use examples of customers, but be comfortable knowing that you would recognize any of the names of these customers. Anytime you get in your car, drive down the street to the grocery store, you'd see a branch, or if you hop on a highway between anywhere to anywhere, a big billboard, right? These are name brand banks, capital markets firms, but they are all investing in that space, and we're doing a lot to help customers there. The last thing I'll share before I know Poorav wanted to add a couple things on this one. So I think one of the things I love about being at Oracle is that we provide all of those resources, horizontal, vertical applications to customers in whichever way you want to digest it. We can provide it as a full SaaS solution, fully cloud enabled. We can do it and deliver it hosted or delivered via public cloud. If the regulatory requirements are so stringent in parts or geographies all around the globe, we can actually deliver those solutions in a dedicated cloud customer kind of way, where you get the economies and the efficiencies of the cloud, but you get to digest those resources and those technologies and solutions behind your firewall in a way that meets maybe more stringent security requirements or regulatory requirements. So it's an exciting space. I think we're driving it in the right place, and our customers are telling us that we're doing the right things and we're investing in the right space, and they're doing more and more with us.
Yeah, so awesome. I mean, there's so much here, and what a great opportunity to just have you talk and share about what's top of mind with our customers. And I wish you could have been with my son this summer as he's like working on building an Ethereum rig to mine Ethereum, talking to our friend from Morgan Stanley about why it's important. So it's just really cool, that whole convergence of how to bring those things together. So I want to dig into it. And Poorav, I'll pose this question to you. This topic of, it feels like tech is added to almost every word of our industry segmentation, but like, let's do fintech, right? So fintechs have just all these things going on where there's these competitive threats, there's sources of innovation, there's disruptors, there's partners. Feels like an episode of Game of Thrones here, and winter is coming. But, Poorav, maybe you could just give us a sense of like what's happening in the sense of how are our financial services solutions really helping our customers compete, thrive, and occupy, if you will, different elements of our world.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anasuya. And it's great to be part of this conversation as well. So at the end of the day, our goal is to enable our financial services clients to innovate by giving them unmatched capabilities in the underlying technology. So whether that's AI, ML, high performance computing, blockchain, and of course, data. We can't forget data when it comes to Oracle. And then the same thing with our industry applications. Most importantly, our clients trust Oracle as a partner in their innovation because they know our product offerings don't directly compete against them. And to enable this, we've even built a state-of-the-art innovation lab just outside Chicago. And it's an environment where our customers can come work with us into our real world. We have OCI running there, of course, our cloud offering and all of our vertical applications, but they can bring in their own workloads. They can bring in some partner solutions. And so we really want to work with them to put this notion of innovation together, whether it is using Oracle's capabilities and Oracle's technology, or a combination of what we bring to the table and other partners that they may want to work with. Now, when we start getting into the application side, the Oracle Cloud, when you combine that with our open banking APIs, it gives them an unparalleled platform that they could use to drive innovation and really integrate with other providers as well, right? So if you think about banking, even 20 years ago, you worked with the bank for everything. You used the bank's credit cards, you basically used their debit card, you had to get even a check from them. today's world, I think banks realize they have to work with partners on the edges. And then our technology enables them to do that, whether they use our applications or they build it themselves and use us to integrate with some of their key partners. And the last thing I'll mention on this is we also have a startup or a fintech ecosystem. So we know fintechs can do some very interesting things, and we give them an environment with Oracle Cloud that allows them to innovate faster, still be compliant, and make sure they meet all their regulatory standards. And if the opportunity is correct, we help curate those startups and introduce them to the financial services clients, so they get to take advantage of some of the innovation that is happening on the Oracle platform. And I think a great example of this would be to see what our friends at Square have been doing. And I think we've got a video for that.
About 10 years ago, a lot of small businesses couldn't take a credit card payment.
We saw such a strong need for financial and economic empowerment. Our mission from day one in 2009 has become more urgent and important than ever. What Square does is provide financial tools, software, and services to the masses.
We've got a pretty complex footprint globally, and so we had sort of band-aided this with a bunch of other tools and technologies that were a little bit siloed. With Oracle, it's been a huge win for us in terms of our foresight to actually move to the cloud.
It's supplying AI and ML capabilities, automating what have been historically manual processes. Whether we're accounting for bank data or Bitcoin data, we have the versatility on the platform to do it all in one place and to see all the data in real time. You can't be bold until you know what risks you're facing and until you've found opportunities to mitigate them.
We want to try to create an environment where we've got a startup culture within a public company, and the cloud allows that to happen.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Poorav. And I just think it's fascinating too. It's like what I was sort of thinking about as you were talking and as we were watching that Square video. It's just almost like the cool factor of financial services. You know, it's like, if I can say, it's like almost they've become like more approachable. And, you know, I for example, at the races this last weekend, got to see a celebrity musician represent Cash App, which is, you know, actually a part of Square, and you don't even realize it. And you know, that musician had like dollar sounds on her nails, and I wish I'd had time to do that between now and when we were talking today. But it's like this approachability and sort of innovation in financial services. I personally don't recall seeing that, and it's just really cool to see what's happening in the space. And so, you know, that combination of innovation and sort of net new apps, if you will, or net new technology also needs to go with the traditional application environment. Many of these financial services organizations have these traditional, very regulated environments that they need to interact with. And so I'll flip it back to you, Chris. And when we think about our customers and how we're working with them to co-create and co-innovate while at the same time support their traditional apps and their traditional environments, can you share a bit about how we're doing that and helping our customers innovate and balance that today?
Absolutely, honestly, and I'll add one more synergistic word in there. The other thing we need to be able to do is be able to do it fast, right? We need to be able to respond to our customers' requests, and we all learned, you know, and whatever else comes down the pike, like maybe a global pandemic, right? Like that will ever happen. But I think a great example that encapsulates all the things you just shared and that ability to move fast and partner in a way that, you know, really extends beyond the boundaries of, you know, drive money, drive profit, drive growth, drive revenue, but really be a responsible corporate citizen is what we did together with Mastercard. So why don't we take a minute and just take a look at that video? I think it gives a great example. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about it after the fact.
Me puse muy nerviosa pensando cómo iba a ser con los niños, Los amo demasiado.
Mayor Garcetti and our partners at Mastercard jumped on the phone. He wanted to figure out a way to get cash to Angelenos as quickly as possible.
Most families were thinking, how are we going to survive and not being able to feed their children?
That was the start of what became the Angeleno Card Initiative. With Mayor's Fund for Los Angeles, they added money to these no-fee debit cards.
There were over 400,000 people who applied.
185,000 of those were from the city of LA, which we were not expecting. That's where Oracle came in, built this new system. They moved incredibly quickly. It was also a great example of teamwork to come together and make this happen.
It provided a sense of hope that things will be okay. Many of them were just so grateful because they didn't know where they were going to be able to turn.
I'm gonna hit it. Watch the ball.
And so whatever it is that we can do in order to be able to respond, we have a responsibility to do that without question, without question.
So, the Mastercard story is one we are just incredibly proud of. The impact we were able to have, the speed at which we were able to respond. Mastercard reached out and said, "Hey, we're having these challenges. Our systems just aren't built, right? They're just not built to digest this type of demand in this time frame. Oracle, can you help us?" And the answer, of course, was yes. And it was yes, both because we absolutely wanted to, would do it, no question, we'd figure it out. But really the amount of investment we've made in building the applications I was talking to you about previously, both vertically and horizontally, so that they easily integrate the open APIs, the pre-built integrations, the way we've even built the underlying data components so that we can digest and connect old technologies with the new, has been a core component to our strategy going forward. And I think the Mastercard example is just a great way to illustrate that in a really meaningful way to more than just Oracle and Mastercard. Is meaningful to a lot of people that needed it.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing that, Chris. And there's so much to talk about here and not even enough time for us to do it. So I'm going to kind of lightning round it, maybe go to you, Poorav, but security is super important. Talk to us about how we're helping our customers in the area of cybersecurity. Can you just touch on that for us?
Certainly. And so over the years, we've seen the lift and shift of critical data into the cloud by a large number of our financial services clients. However, what we've also noticed is the patchwork of security tooling, the processes, that has led to a cadence of missteps and even some data leaks, which is clearly not something that our banks want to deal with. So as a leading provider of infrastructure applications, security is core to what we do at the end of the day, right? So our security in the cloud is based upon some very simple foundational principles. One, it's automated and it's always on. Two, it is seamless. So basically, you don't necessarily have to do anything necessarily. You get it, and it's part of the base cost. And then three, everything from the ground up that we have is designed with security first principles architected in. So whether it's our database, whether it's our middleware layer, whether it's the applications, or even just the edge, we've got a comprehensive set of capabilities. And then at last, but certainly not the least, we've got the auditing, the monitoring, and the automation to detect when there's something going wrong so that we can catch, we can respond to it very quickly. And more importantly, we can share those best practices with any of our financial services clients that are running on the Oracle Cloud. So because we run our own applications on the Oracle Cloud and we support so many clients, it really creates that ecosystem of a very secure environment that we can use to provide great confidence to our customers that they can move to the cloud securely, they can move their sensitive data over to us without necessarily running into any sort of issues or suffering data loss, as long as they adhere to the best practices that we've outlined for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fascinating. There's so much here. I think we've touched on this, but I'm just going to double click on it just to make sure. But this role of artificial intelligence and machine learning and how kind of low code, no code apps play into our solutions. Can you guys share just a tiny bit of that, just so we've got that sort of as a bold underline?
We believe the most value comes when it's embedded in the vertical application, and it allows our customers to make real-time decisions, as opposed to something that is run on its own and then brought into the business process. We'll touch upon low code and no code very briefly. Oracle's actually had a long history of having low code, no code applications, starting with Oracle Apex many years ago, before low code and no code became, I'll call it the cool words, right? So we have two very key low code, no code applications. One is an extension of the Oracle Apex app dev platform, and the second is Visual Builder. The Apex platform is more suitable for database and SQL savvy developers, whereas the Visual Builder is more for people that are JavaScript and JavaScript savvy. Both allow you at the end of the day to build web applications, publish APIs, consume data using integration methods like streaming or APIs. And just as an example, Apex alone has over 500,000 developers.
Right.
It's 150 plus partners creating over 2 million applications. So we've got a rich ecosystem and a rich history of low code and no code, and we continue to build upon it as we go forward as well.
Yeah, it's been so awesome talking to both of you. I feel like I've been on my own personal episode of Squawk Box. And so thank you so much for the time. Awesome to hear what we're doing in financial services, and look forward to seeing what's next.
Great. Thanks, Anasuya.
Thanks, Anasuya.
Later, Poorav.